通过美国投资家罗伯特清崎先生写的这本书，富爸爸穷爸爸，知道了另外一个崭新的词汇，叫做财商 （financial IQ）。据说呢，掌握好财商就可以控制好自己的财务。那今天呢，我把罗伯特先生请到我们的现场，请他给我们带来一场报告。这个报告的名字叫金钱未必使您富裕。好，有请罗伯特先生上场。就当不如。好，我们开始。很多人跟我说您是美国人，但我看您怎么长得像日本人啊
？Yes, I am a fourth generation Japanese American. I don't speak Japanese, so I barely speak English.
你不说日语，你的父亲和你的爸爸觉得不伤心吗
No, they didn't speak Japanese either. Second generation did, third generation did not, fourth definitely did not.
我知道有很多中国人在美国生活，哪怕是在您出生的这个夏威夷，他们已经是第7代、第8代中国人了，他们是挖唐山的出去的，但是到他们现在还都会说中国话。假如他的孩子不说中国话的话，父亲会伤心。
Right, it's hard to speak a language when nobody else speaks it. So, and if I moved here to China, I would definitely have to learn Chinese. But if I don't practice it, you forget also.
好你是忘记了。我这么想的，那肯定是50年前那场侵华战争的时候，您的祖上没有人来中国。
No, 50 years ago, I had 7 uncles fight in World War II. 5 fought in Europe, and 2 fought in the Pacific against the Japanese. And one of them was captured by the Japanese. They didn't like him very much.
好，我知道你没有打过中国，所以现在呢，我可以坦然的再和你握一下手。你给我们带来的这本书呢，写的是关于财富方面的东西。那我想问您，您自己办没办公司？办得怎么样？有没有成功和失败的教训？
Yes, today I have 7 companies. 3 are publicly listed. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a true story. And when I went to fight in Vietnam. And when I came back from Vietnam, I decided that I would follow in my rich dad's footsteps, not my poor dad. My poor dad wanted to become a school teacher. And my rich dad said, become a rich man. So after Vietnam, in 1974, I decided to follow in my rich dad's footsteps and become an entrepreneur, like Bill Gates or Michael Dell and things like this. So I started my first company when I was in my 20s, and I also was very successful very quickly. Became a millionaire in my 20s, and then also lost all my money in my 20s. And so I've had my failures. So when people say, I don't know what it feels like to have no money, I said, I know what it feels like to have no money, plus to owe my investors millions of dollars and have to pay them back. So what I say to people is that my poor dad thought it was bad that I failed, and my rich dad thought it was good that I failed, because I actually learned more rebuilding my company than I did by the first time building it. So I became a better businessman through failure, and a stupid businessman through instant success, because I was so fortunate. My first business made so much money that I got stupid. So the thing here is this, is that like it or not today, money is power. And China sits at a very big period of time that you are about to become a very rich country. But if only a few people become rich, you will have very big problems. The problem with Japan is they have very highly educated people, but only academically educated. They have high savings rate. They're very hard working, but their economy is going down. That's why I come to talk to you about financial education, not about the Vietnam War, okay?
好，咱们开办自己的公司。罗伯特先生开的第一家公司是经营什么？
My first company, I was 9 years old. I wrote about it in a Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was a comic book company. And I was selling comic books. I was renting comic books. That was my first business. I was 9 years old.
那刚才罗伯特先生呢， 他说他第一家公司是卖小人书，但是这本书里说啊，他这之前呢还有一次尝试失败的，啊，他是干什么呢？这本书呢刚一开始就这么说，这是罗伯特问他的穷爸爸，他说：“爸，你能告诉我怎样才能变富有吗？”爸爸放下手中的晚报，他问：“你为什么想变富呢？”罗伯特先生回答是：“因为这个周末，吉米的妈妈会开一辆新的凯迪拉克，带吉米去海滨别墅度周末。吉米还说要带3个朋友去，但我和麦克没有被邀请。他们说我们不被邀请是因为我们是穷孩子。他们真的是这么说的吗？”爸爸不相信地问。“是的，他们说了。”我带着一种受到伤害的音调回答。爸爸沉默地摇了摇头，把他的眼镜往鼻梁上推了推，然后又去读报纸。我站在那儿期待着回答。那一年是1956年，我9岁。从这个故事以后呢，罗伯特先生呢就肆意的在邻居的家里呢搜集这个牙膏皮。当时的牙膏皮不是像现在咱们用的这个高露洁那样是塑料的，而是这个铅的。然后他们把这个牙膏皮聚集在一起，给碳化了以后，放在一个柱子里面，铸造美元。而且当时他不知道这是违法的。
My poor dad said to me, if you want to be rich, learn how to make money. But he didn't know how to make money. But being only 9 years old, I took the translation literally. And I started making money out of lead, coins, nickels and dimes. So I said to my poor dad, I said, I'm making money. He says, no, that's called counterfeiting. That's illegal. But I think most people miss the message today that if you want to be rich, the rich still make money. They print their own money. It is still done legally. And Bill Gates became the richest man in the world printing his own money. It's called a share of Microsoft stock. So one of the difference between the rich and the middle class and the poor is that the poor and the middle class, they want to buy stock. They want to buy shares. The rich sell shares to the poor and middle class. So the rich make their own money and sell it to everybody else. So when I came back from Vietnam in 1974, I decided I would not buy stocks, I would sell stocks. And today I'm a rich man because I sell stocks. I sell stock in my 2 oil companies and my mining company in South America. I sell stock to people. Everybody else wants to play the stock market. They want to buy stocks. You must know the difference between buying and selling. If you want to be rich in business, you don't buy stocks, you sell stocks.
你知道有一个人叫做李嘉诚，他是一个香港人，他也有很多公司。
Yes.
但是李嘉诚呢，他挣了这么多钱的情况下呢，到现在为止还没想到写一本书，比如说叫穷太太富太太。你为什么会在自己经营的很好的时候抽出精力写一本书，告诉大家怎么发财呢？不怕钱被我们分去了吗？
No, that is a silly question, my friend. I wrote the book simply because why would I be, there's so much money, why would I be afraid of somebody else writing the book? I wrote the book simply to pass on my rich dad's lessons. It was just to pass on my rich dad's lessons. If somebody wants to learn the lessons, they can read the book. If they don't want to read the lessons, they don't have to read the book. The difference here is this, is that I was not a good student in school. I was not a good writer. But when people ask me why is the book so successful, is because before I wrote the book, I was already a rich man. I don't need the book to get rich, but I get richer because I wrote the book. I wrote the book to enrich other people's lives. And I want to say that the most important thing to become rich, there's many ways you can become rich. You can be rich by being a cheap person. And the world really hates cheap people, rich cheap people. You can get rich by being a crook, but the problem is you're still a crook. You can get rich by marrying somebody who's rich, but we know what that makes you, you know? And you can get rich by being a generous man. And if you want to be rich, I suggest being generous. So I wrote the book simply because I wanted to be generous. And because I am generous, I make more money.
贾平凹，一位在争议中生活的作家，一个说自己是农民的城里人。让我们走进他摆满收藏品的小小工作室，也走进他无边无际的精神世界。
东方八喜名人面对面，今晚8点半，凤凰卫视中文台。
创造科技产业新纪元，麦克特集团。
在这个报告开始之前呢，我想再麻烦罗伯特先生一下，能不能告诉没有看过你这本书的朋友，为什么你有2个爸爸？
The reason I had 2 dads, rich dad and poor dad, my poor dad was a very smart man, academic genius. He graduated from university in 2 years. He went to Stanford University, University of Chicago, and Northwestern. He was the head of education for the state of Hawaii. Very, very smart man. But I call him my poor dad simply because he was a government bureaucrat and he made a lot of money. But no matter how much money he made, and he made a lot of money, he got poorer and poorer. That's because he was academically smart, but not financially smart. My rich dad was my best friend's father, and he was a man who started with no money. He had no education, but he got richer and richer because he built companies. So when you look at Hawaii today, when you see the white beaches, white sand and the blue water and the big hotels and the hula girls, my rich dad, he's dead now, but his family still owns the land under some of those hotels. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a true story of what 2 fathers tell their 2 sons, myself and my best friend, about how to manage our money. Because the rich need to teach their children how to manage the assets, because if they do not teach their children how to manage the assets, the kids will lose the money. So I was very fortunate in that my rich dad was teaching my best friend. And in teaching his best friend, he also taught me. So I started with nothing because my poor dad only had a job. He had no assets. So I had to start with nothing. So when I graduated from school, my poor dad gave me a handshake and says, bye-bye. And I had to pay for my own university and all that. But that made me rich because I wanted to become rich. But I had the education of my rich dad, not the education I got in traditional school. So I'm a rich man today. I retired at age 47. I make millions and millions of dollars without working today because of what my rich dad taught me. So I wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad simply out of a social responsibility to give back, to teach. In many ways today, I'm more like my poor dad, who was a school teacher, more than my rich dad, who was a businessman.
好，总之呢，一句话，这个富爸爸呢，不是罗伯特先生的亲爸爸，是那个刚才我说的跟罗伯特先生一起造假币的那个麦克的爸爸。是他好朋友他爸爸。好，咱们言归正传，长话短说。现在呢，就开始请罗伯特先生给我们带来报告。报告的名字是，金钱未必使我们富有。好，有请。
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 富爸爸。And Poor Dad. And what the book is basically about is that my poor dad had very high academic IQ. Very, very smart man. He did very well in school. In fact, he did so well in school, he never left school. He started in school, became a school teacher, and stayed in school until the day he died. He always worked for the school systems. He really did not know the world outside of school. So he did well in school and stayed in school all of his life because he had a high academic IQ. My rich dad didn't have a high academic IQ, but my rich dad had a very high financial IQ. So the reason I am rich today is not because of my academic IQ. In fact, I didn't do well in school. I sincerely doubt if I would ever be invited to this school here because I wasn't very smart. But I became rich because I had my rich dad's high financial IQ. So today I would say I am not as smart financially as my rich dad. He is a very, very, very smart man. So in 1974, when I was finally released from the U.S. Marine Corps, and my military career was over after 10 years, I went to my poor dad and I said, I will not become this. I will not follow an academic anymore. I will go and learn to become a salesman. Now, my poor dad said, salesman? Salesman? He said, salesmen are the lowest people on earth. You know, in Confucius study, the best are teachers and the lowest are salespeople. So my dad thought he was the highest and being a salesman was the lowest. So the first step for me was to go to my poor dad and say, oh, I will become salesman. And that was the break in the family tradition at that time. So I had to learn financial IQ and I learned to sell. The reason I had to learn to sell is that one of the reasons, if you're going to be rich, you can never use your own money. People say, well, it takes money to make money. That is not true. The way you get rich, you use other people's money. So I had to learn to sell, to go talk to my investors and say, look, give me $2 million, $3 million, I'm going to build my company. Or I have to go talk to my banker and sell to my banker why the banker should lend me money to buy this building here. So my career really started around 1974 when I came back from Vietnam on financial IQ. I will now go quickly before into the second book here, and I think this is my most important book here. It's called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And I wrote this book for people who want to make changes in their lives, whether they're young or old. Okay, I think this is the most important book because it gives the differences here. And this here is the cash flow quadrant. And I think it determines some of the differences in education here. The quadrant means 4, and my rich dad pointed out to me when I was a very young boy. He said, in the world of business, there are 4 different types of people, and everyone is different. He says the E stands for employee. Most people in this world are employees. He says S stands for self-employed or small business. They're also called specialists. For instance, a doctor, an attorney, an accountant are very highly specialized people. These are also some of the smartest people around of these people here. On the B side, they're the business people. And a business person, a big business person, is different than a small business person. The world is filled with small business people. The problem with being a small business person is they cannot stop working. For instance, if I was a doctor, a medical doctor, I have to keep working to make money. Or if I ran, let's say, a restaurant, as a small business owner, I would still have to go to work every day because if I stop working, the money stops also. So my rich dad pointed out to me, if I wanted to be rich, I needed to be a big business owner here. For example, there's many people in America who sell hamburgers or coffee, but they stay small because they can only have 1 or 2 shops. A big business owner is like McDonald's or Starbucks, where they have thousands of shops. So the mindset is different with these people. My rich dad pointed out to me that of all the people on earth, these are the richest in the world. This is Bill Gates, Anita Roddick, Richard Branson of Virgin Airways and all this. These are the richest. And he said the 4th type were investors. And again, they were different kinds of people. They had different minds, different emotions. So, it was my poor dad who always said to me, go to school and get a job. My poor dad in my family was programming me to become an employee. And I kept saying to my poor dad, I don't want a job. I want to learn to become rich. He goes, no, 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 no. No, become rich. Rich are evil. They're crooks, bad people. You know, very middle-class thinking. And I said, no, no, no. So my mother, she is a very nice person. She says to me, she says, Robert, I know you want to be rich. I said, yes. She says, if you want to be rich, and my mother was a medical nurse. So she says, in her world, as far as she could see, the richest people she knew were doctors, medical doctors. So she said to me, my poor mom said, why don't you become a medical doctor? And I said to my mom, there's only one problem with me becoming a medical doctor. She said, what's that? She said, I said, you have to be smart. And I'm not smart. She says, you have a very good point there, you know. You'll never go to doctor school. So then I talked to my rich dad, and my rich dad said, if you wanted to be rich, you had to become business owner and you had to become investor. And then the kind of education I talk about is financial. Now, the basis of all financial education, the basic education you must have if you're going to be on this side is you must be financially literate. In other words, there is financial IQ, and under financial IQ is financial literacy, and under financial literacy is financial words. So I'll put that down here. It begins with words, and then it goes to literacy, and then it goes to financial IQ here. The reason I say this right now is this. If I wanted to be rich on this side, if I wanted to survive on this side, I needed to learn the words, the vocabulary. And the words to be successful here are not the same words over here. They're very different words. Having two dads, I realized my poor dad, being a school teacher, spoke the words of a school teacher. And I realized that my rich dad spoke the words of a rich man. So although both dads spoke English, they did not speak the same language. They did not use the same words.
你爱我，就是我爱你。
1号先生
8号小姐，3号
2号
7号小姐
4号，
你让我照顾你一辈子。
我是真心诚意的，要我们在一起。
不扭捏做作，勇敢追求幸福，才是最酷的雅家非常男女。今晚7点，凤凰卫视中文台。雅家非常男女是由广东雅家集团高级化妆品剧名赞助播出。传统冰箱真好电，就像养了一只电老虎。新飞精英节电有绝招，老虎也能变小猫。新飞精英冰箱。
In Rich Dad, Poor Dad, in this book here, I go into the importance of financial literacy. And this is the basis of financial literacy. It is a financial statement. A financial statement is made of income, expense, assets, and liabilities. But my rich dad pulled me aside. He says, I want to tell you a big secret in life. My banker has never asked me for my report card yet. My banker doesn't care if I've had good grades. My banker wants to know, my banker wants to see my financial IQ. How smart am I financially? So in your country and in my country, when you go see your banker, the banker doesn't ask you your report card. Your banker wants to see your financial statement. So my rich dad said, what makes an asset a liability is this. He says the most important word for business people is the word cash flow. When your banker looks at your financial statement, the banker wants to say, which way is this cash flowing here? So my rich dad said to me, an asset, the definition, I was only 9 years old, he said very simply to me, assets are things that put money in your pocket even if you don't work. Every day, assets will put money in your pocket without working. So he said, this is the cash flow pattern of an asset. It's flowing money from the asset column into your income column. So my rich dad said there are 3 basic asset classes. One is a business. 2 is paper assets like stocks and bonds. And the 3rd asset class is real estate. Okay? So those assets are flying in there. But he also said that a liability is something that takes money from your pocket whether you work or not. So let's say I buy a house. This is a house. Let's say I buy a house, I live in this house, and every month that money flows out of my pocket. That house is then a liability, not an asset. But if I rent the house out, that house becomes an asset. Let's say I buy a business and I manage my business. Let's say I buy a restaurant. I manage the restaurant really well. Every month that restaurant puts money in my pocket, that restaurant is an asset. But let's say I mismanage the restaurant. No customers come in. Every month I lose money from that thing. So that same restaurant is a liability. So what my rich dad taught me very on is that these things are just things. Whether or not they're assets or liability depends upon me. It is my financial IQ. So this is the basic education over here. Most people go to school, get themselves a job, and they start making money, and money comes in and money goes out. When a banker looks at your financial statement, they're looking at here, this cash flow pattern is a cash flow pattern of a poor person. What happens to the middle class people in America, why they're having a hard time, is they spend more than they make. So what they do instead is the first thing they do is buy a big house when they get married, and what they have on the liability column is a word called mortgage. Again, going back to the importance of words and the definition of words, the definition of the word mortgage comes from the French word mortir, which means death. So what mortgage means is engaged until you're dead, in debt. So what is happening to the average American, and it's going to start happening in this country, in China, is people will get deeper and deeper in debt because they want to spend more than they make. So they borrow, borrow, borrow. I am not against borrowing money, but don't borrow money for liabilities. So after they buy the mortgage, the nice house, they buy themselves a BMW or Mercedes, then they have nice furniture, and then they have credit card debt because they go on holiday to Japan or Disneyland or wherever you go. So this here is then the cash flow pattern of the middle class. And that's about 50% of Americans. They look like they have money, they have a high-paying job, but they're deeply in debt because they spend more than they make. So that's why I say money doesn't make you rich. If you want to be rich, the thing that has to happen is you have to buy assets. Either you build a business, you buy stocks or bonds, or you buy real estate. So when I read a financial statement in a split second, like a banker, I can see that this person here is a rich person. And the reason they're rich is because they don't have a job, and the money is flowing from assets every day. So the reason I get richer and richer is because I can only work so hard. There's only so many hours in a day I can work. But I get richer and richer because I just keep buying more and more assets here, or building more and more assets. So my income or cash flow goes up, but I don't work any harder. And so what's happening is that the cash flow goes this way, this way, this way, this way. And what you're looking at here is why the rich get richer, the poor get poor, and the middle class get middle class. So oftentimes people ask me this question. They say, so do you recommend buying stocks? Is it real estate? Should I go into business? They want me to tell them what to do. And what I try to tell people, it's not what I do, it's what I know. And what I'm giving people here is what I know. Let me give you an example. Let's say I buy a restaurant. My chances of getting rich from buying that restaurant are pretty good because I've had education and I've had experience. I've made a lot of mistakes, so I have experience. The person who just went to school, let's say they have no financial education and no experience. They take that same restaurant and they go broke. Well, let's say they buy real estate. I buy a piece of real estate, I get richer because I know. It's not what I do, it's what I know. Whereas a person who with not the same education, they buy the same real estate and they go broke. So what I try to say to people, before you do anything, find out what you need to know. What I have found out, there are people with a poor mindset, a middle class mindset, and a rich mindset. And all I'm trying to do is not tell you what to do, I'm trying to tell you what to know and how to think. And it's how you think that makes you rich. Because today in China, when people say, oh, I cannot see any opportunities in China, the reason you cannot see opportunities is because, let's say you're investing in a business. If you're going to invest in a business, investing in business requires a different set of words. If you're going to buy stocks, it's going to take a different set of words. And if you're going to invest in real estate, it takes a different set of words. So what my rich dad had me do was, after I had the basic financial education down here, then he said to me, you must learn the words of business owners. You must learn the vocabulary of stocks. You must learn the vocabulary of real estate. Because the moment you have the words in your head, you will see money everywhere. But if you do not have the words, you will never see it. China today is the fastest growing country in the world. Not only is it the fastest growing country in the world, it is the youngest major country in the world. Japan has gone down because the old guys are old. There's a saying in America, the world will not change until the old men die, like me. You know? So the strength that China has is you have the highest growth rate right now. You also have a young population. In the next 10 years, you will become, in my opinion, the richest country in the world. And you're in the best place at the best time. I commend you for being brilliant, brilliant students. And I wish you the best of luck for the future. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And it's the first game in the world that teaches people how to read a financial statement, how to put one together. And to make it fun, I made this game board here. This way. So this game here I will show you is real life. This here is the rat race, they call it in America. It is the trap. You get up, go to work, get up, go to work, get up, go to work, get up, go to work. That's this pattern here. You get up, pay bills, get up, pay bills. That's this one here. So the reason there are two, this is the poor and middle class, and this is the rich. In America, these are the facts. There are investments for the poor and middle class, and there's investments for the rich. One of the reasons the rich get richer is because they have the best investments in the world. But according to the U.S. government law, or the Securities and Exchange Commission, since 1935, to invest up here in America by law, you must be a millionaire. That's a lot of money. Less than 1% of the U.S. population can invest up here. Everybody else is stuck down here. One of the reasons I wanted to become a millionaire was because I wanted to invest up here so I could get rich faster. So it took me a long time to become a millionaire, but it took me very quickly to make 10 to 100 million up here. But I had to pay the price, pay the dues of learning how to fill this out here so I could talk to these people up here and all this stuff. So I created this game as close to real life. It, for most people, is a hard game because it teaches you to think more in terms of assets versus high-paying job here. Over here, high-paying job counts. Over here, assets count. So I recommend you play it 10 to 12 times. It'll change your mindset. Your financial IQ will go up. And once your financial IQ goes up, you will manage your money better. And it'll make you a better investor, whether it's businesses, stocks, or real estate. So it's a very basic game. And after you've mastered the game, then I recommend you teach to other people. If you really want to learn, you should be like my poor dad. Teaching is the best way to learn. So you teach your stupid friends how to become rich, you know. When I played this game with my banker for 6 hours went and the reason my banker stayed 6 hours in here is because my banker is an employee. He doesn't think like a business owner or investor. So the purpose of this game was to change the way you think, but it also teaches you the words and the vocabulary and the numbers of financial IQ. So that's basically what I have to say. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or if I'm out of time, I'm glad to. So thank you for your time.
补血口服液适用于缺铁及营养性贫血的各类人群。补血口服液，哈药集团制药6厂生产。
苗毒草药谢霆锋，
快速止泻不伤肝肾。
谢霆锋胶囊，贵州安顺制药厂。世界看我行，东风小霸王。诺基亚带来新生活理念，其人性化科技让你不进办公室照常工作，你不必每天守在办公桌旁。现在，你可以去享受真正的生活了。联系生活，实现可能。诺基亚。
补血口服液适用于缺铁及营养性贫血的各类人群。补血口服液，哈药集团制药6厂生产。
刚才罗伯特先生呢已经提到了他这个 Cash Flow Game 这个游戏，正好呢凤凰网站有一个叫做澡盆里的鱼，这个网友呢他正好有个提问跟这个游戏有关系，他是这样问的：我试着玩过抢手和大富豪，这些游戏充分显示了富人在投资中是怎样干的，但大多数玩者就像我一样，并没有在自己的生活中真正变成富人。它除了增加我们不切实际的财富梦想和纯粹的娱乐之外，并不能给我们关于经济生活的任何指导和帮助。我听说清奇先生设计了一个 Cash Flow Game 这样的一个现金流游戏，所以我就怀疑它是不是跟我曾经玩过的抢手和大富豪一样好玩而不实用。请清奇先生回答。
I'd be very happy to give some comments to that one. First of all, this game here, Cash Flow, is more sophisticated. It's a little bit harder to learn. But I am not going to comment on the games. I'm going to talk about this person's mindset. The most important thing to becoming rich is, do you have a mindset to want to become rich? The reason I say that is this, is because I wanted to become rich. When I played Monopoly, I was 9 years old. The greatest formula for wealth is found on that board game. If you want to be rich, I learned to be rich playing Monopoly because I wanted to become rich. This gentleman here is a cynic. He says, well, I'm skeptical, I'm cynical, I don't trust you. He will have a hard time becoming rich because cynics, they may be more accurate in the world, but they're less happy and less successful. Okay? I will give you the formula for great wealth, and it is found on the board game Monopoly. When I was 9 years old, my poor dad, the school teacher, said, put the game away, study, study, study. You're wasting your time playing Monopoly. And my rich dad said, the formula, you must open your mind and see the formula right on Monopoly. He said, it's right in front of you. And I went, what's the formula? And finally I learned the formula is 4 greenhouses, red hotel. 4 greenhouses, red hotel. Today I'm a rich man because all I ever did since the time I was 24 years old is buy 4 greenhouses, sell them all, buy a red hotel. 4 greenhouses, red hotel. It is not, you do not have to go to school to become rich. Just play Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, red hotel. That is it. Now, in cash flow, so I want to say this much. That gentleman who asked that question, the reason he cannot see is because he doesn't trust. And that is very important in my world to become rich, because you must trust. You must look at how people before you have become rich. Do not talk to poor people. Poor people will tell you, oh, it's too risky. Don't do that. Don't take risks. Save your money. Play safe. That is a poor person's mindset. You must have open mindset. Open. And if you have an open mindset, you will learn from everything. If you have a closed mindset, you will learn from nothing. So I look out right now here. I can see some of you have open mindsets. Big. Some of you want to learn. I can see in your eyes. You want to be rich. Some of you are going, he's lying to me. He's lying to me. I don't like him. I don't trust him. It has nothing to do with what I say. It has to do with the mindset here. So this board game here is more sophisticated. It is harder. And for people with, it is not the truth. It is too cynical. I do not trust him. You will not learn anything. Don't buy it. But if you want to learn, you will learn from everything. So I can see in your eyes whether you will learn or not learn. So I think that is the most important thing. I have found out the difference between a poor person and a rich person is by what they think. A poor person will always say, that's too expensive. I cannot afford it. That is a poor person's mindset. If you say, I cannot do that, that is a poor person's mindset. It's too risky. Poor person's mindset. My rich dad said, never, ever, ever say I can't afford something. Because that's poor people. You can have a lot of money, but I can't afford it. You're poor. If you want to be rich, don't say how I can't afford it. Say, how can I afford it? You say you cannot afford it, your mind closes. You say, how can I afford it? Your mind opens. Does that make sense here? So what you want is a mindset. I have never said I can't afford something. I say, how can I afford it and why do I need to afford it? It opens my mind up. Poor people say, cheap, cheap, cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Save, save, save. Work hard, work hard, work hard. Peace, peace, peace. Save, 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 save.
好，现在让我们把我们的头脑给 open 开，然后听一听下一个网友的问题。这位网友叫天外来客。我不知道罗伯特听说没听说过这样一种说法，说人生有4大享受，如果这4个东西一个人都有的话，这个人就是幸福的。
Yes.
这个4大享受的第一个享受就是 American salary， 要有美国的工资。
No, I don't have a salary. I've only had a job 4 years in my life. I don't want a salary. Ladies and gentlemen.
罗伯特先生的意见是，如果要做富人，就不要工资。如果要工资的话，就是 middle class。
No, I don't want this. I will show you difference. I will show you the big difference here. I don't want this. The middle class and poor, what they want is high income. They think they want money, but they have no wealth because they have no assets. You must know the difference between money and wealth because they're not the same things. Money will never make you rich. This makes you rich. I have large companies. I have lots of stocks. I trade options. I have real estate. That's what makes me rich. So that money just comes in whether I work or not. Bill Gates only makes $500,000 a year. That's all. I make more than him. That's all he makes. But he's worth $20 billion. I'm trying to tell you there is a very big difference between income and money and wealth. So I have spent my life buying assets, businesses, stocks, real estate. That's what makes you rich. Not a job. The reason the rich in America get richer is they pass this on to their kids. My poor dad always said, high-paying job, high-paying job, high-paying job. And my rich dad said, assets, assets, assets. That's the difference.
那看样子人生的第一大享受 American salary 是一个过时的观念。那第2大享受呢，就是 British house， 要有英国那么大的房子。
I have very big house. I love my house. Yes. And I have 5 cars. Porsche, Mercedes, I get Ferrari next and all that. I like nice cars. I have a beautiful wife. I'm very happy. Nice house.
第3大享受呢是这个 Chinese food， 好像
Yes。
这几天你已经吃到了。第4大享受呢是你一定要在这辈子娶一个 Japanese wife。
What? Did he say Japanese wife?
但是您是一个日本人的后代，但是确实娶了一个美国太太。
你刚才讲到 assets， 但是每个就是财产都有它的投资回报率，就是短期，好比说他希望短期内暴富，或者希望长时间投资，就是大概这一个过程嘛，就是他整个这一个过程。
Let me answer one question, okay? First of all, that man over there is going to be a very rich man. No, I can see in his eyes. No. You pretty girls should go talk to him, okay? No, he is hungry to learn. You know what? No, let me say, okay? If I was learning Chinese, I come over here. I'm only going to be in Beijing 4 days. So when somebody tries to teach me Chinese, I go, why should I learn? I'm only going to be here 4 days. But if I was to move here, I would say, I have to learn, I have to learn, I have to learn. Does that make sense to you? So he has, I have to learn, I have to learn, I have to learn. It is not what I can teach him. Most important is he has to learn, he has to learn. And that's why he'll be rich. The same thing when I was on the business owner investment side, since I was never going to have a job, I had to learn, I had to learn, I had to learn. Okay? So the most important investment you can make is in your education. To answer your question on return on investment, when you're young and you have no experience and no money, it takes a lot of money and a lot of risk to make a little money. But if you have, I want to learn, I want to learn, I want to learn, and you get older and you gain experience and education, it takes no money and no risk to make a lot of money. But you have to want to learn first. So, when people ask me today, what is my ROI, is in 1974 when I left the Marine Corps, I knew I was never going to be over here. Never. I would never get a job. Never, 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 never. So since I knew I was never going to be over here and I was going to move over here, I had to learn differently. I had to learn. I had to learn. I had to learn a whole other language. That'd be like me, being over here in America, saying, well, I don't need to learn Chinese. I don't need to learn Chinese. But if I moved to Beijing, I'd have to learn. And so moving from here to here is like learning a whole other language. And that's what I'm trying to say. I said earlier, the rich or the language of money is different than the language of these people here. That's why these people don't talk to these people a lot of the time. So what I see in him is he wants to learn over here. If you want to say, all I want is a job, all I want is a job, I want a high-paying salary, you stay over here. But if you move over here, you have to learn. Now, the good news here is this. On this side, your income is limited. And the reason it's limited is because you have to work. I have to work. If I'm a doctor, I have to work. If I'm a teacher, I have to work. But over here, your income is unlimited. Because over here, my money works for me, or other people work for me, or my systems work for me, or I hire these people to work for me. So I can own 7 companies over here. Over here, I can work for 1 company, maybe 2 at the most. So when you want to learn, you have to learn a new language here. 5 weeks ago, I put up no money, and I made $5,000 US in 3 minutes. So I put up no money, no risk. It took me 3 minutes to talk to my broker, and I made 5,000 US. What is my rate of return?
Your rate of return is infinite.
Yes, thank you. Give him a hand. Very good. It is infinite. This is the point I want to make, is that the power to become rich is here. This young man wants to know the question. If he keeps asking the question, he will find it. Some of you are saying it can't be done. And the future depends upon you, not upon me. And that is the most important lesson. I've already given you the best I can give you. So that's what I'd like to say. Thank you very much.
在节目马上就要结束之前呢，我要让您用一句话回答我一个问题，就是您刚才讲金钱不一定使我们致富，能不能用一句话告诉我，到底什么能使我们致富？
This.
thinking。金钱呢未必使我们致富，但是呢，使我们致富的关键呢，应该是好的财务知识的教育。好，谢谢大家，谢谢罗伯特。
周三晚上